Hello. Today, what we're going to do is install Kafka on our Linux system. And then what we're going to do from there is we're going to configure Pega to use that Kafka installation for its stream processing. Now, the reason we would want to use Kafka for stream processing as opposed to the stream processing nodes that come with Pega is that in a full-blown environment, whether it's development or functional testing or regression testing or production, when you have multiple nodes that do either background processing or client processing, you also need a couple of these stream nodes. One primary that is the master that serves messages, and the other one that's essentially there for failover in case something happens to the first one. So a large percentage of your actual computing footprint ends up being these stream nodes that do almost nothing. They're largely idle. CPU is almost always very, very low. However, the footprint of the actual server is quite large because it requires a Pega installed on there. So what we want to do is we want to take Pega out of the equation for this stream processing and just have a pure Kafka server that's doing that. So now I'll show you how to go about doing that. Also, in many companies, especially the cloud-based ones, the group of people who manages and maintains Kafka servers is not the same group that manages and maintains the Pega servers. And so the expertise is really not necessarily there in the Pega on the Pega end. That's another good reason for doing this. Okay, so I guess the first thing we need to do is go to the Kafka website and grab it. And so we'll just save it there. Get in here and extract it. And we'll go to the correct location. Excellent. So here we are. And I suspect that the bin file, oh, yeah, they are all executable. That's good. And the configuration for that will be in Zookeeper properties. Okay, so where to keep the data in the temp directory. Let's do that instead. Client port. There's not much else there. Bin Zookeeper server start sh config. Great. So that's good. Now we have that. And we're going to open, we won't put it in a tab, we'll put it on another window so that way you can see it. Like so. Now there's a server property, so let's look at that first. Config. Logs, there's per directory. Okay, we're good. There you go. Now we have a broker going. So now what we want to do is we actually want to go into Pega. So if I go up a couple directories here and go look in Pega 8.7, this is the one we installed just the other day. There's the extracted, and here's the Tomcat. And then if we look in web apps, we see that we have a PR web here and our web inf is here. Classes. And we can see here that we have prconfig.xml in place. And that is what we'll have to edit. Now, a lot of the times Tomcat has an interesting habit of overwriting what you change inside this directory. And there are a couple ways to change that. Either in your setenv.sh file, you can tell Pega that the PR config and PR logging files are somewhere outside of this web apps folder. That's a great way to do it. But we're not going to do that. Instead, what we'll do is we'll just move these two out of this directory. So what we'll do is we'll cut and then go up a directory and paste here. Okay, so we put them here outside of that, and what will happen is that PR help and PR web won't be updated and modified every time we start up Tomcat. Okay, so let's go into classes directory and look at this. So if we open the terminal, go into PR web, go into webinf. Now, like I said, in a production installation, these files wouldn't be in this location. You would manage that so that it's in a different place. But with personal edition, we just go with the defaults, what they have. Okay, so here we are looking at the Pega rules config.xml. So what we're going to have to do here is alter this so that it actually looks for an external Kafka. This actually information is not that easy to find. So what you want to do is you want to create a new environment entry, actually a few environment entries. Copy one of these items, and then what we want to do is change the name of it to be services stream provider. And the type of it is, now move my mouse out of the way here, external Kafka. Great. So the next item you want to do is not a provider, but the broker URL. Next item after that is the encryption. Encryption security protocol. And next item, encryption mechanism. Now, we're not going to do encryption, so these are all going to be just set to plain text or that sort of thing. And then the final one is a pattern. So we want to put a pattern in there so that we can have actually multiple Pega installs if we wanted to, and they wouldn't step on each other, and they could reuse the same Kafka server. So now the values here are going to be, here's going to be some localhost thing. So we'll get that in a second actually. Protocol is going to be plain text. Only one T. And then encryption just be plain. And the pattern, we're going to say Pega 8.7 personal edition dash. Now Pega uses this placeholder here in order to fill in the names of the streams that it uses for internal processing and also for streams that you produce as you develop. And then finally, the broker URL, which so in this case is just our own computer, and the default port that Kafka uses. We didn't change it. We're not going to touch logging, so PR logging log4j.xml can stay as is. The only other thing that might have to change are the files inside the Pega bin directory, because by default, Pega Personal Edition comes up as a stream node also on top of the other types of node that it can be. But in this case, we don't actually want it to do that because we have Kafka running. So we're going to go into Tomcat bin directory and edit the setenv data. And so this time what we're going to do is we're going to remove the stream designation for this node, and so that the node won't try to install Kafka and fire it up. That should do it. Now we can just go ahead and start Pega by just saying startup.sh. And what we can also do, oh, this is going to fail because we didn't start Postgres. For sure. Let's check. Yeah, see, so Postgres could not connect to it. So let's start Postgres up. First thing we'll do is we'll shut down this server. Then we'll start up Postgres. Excellent. Now what we're waiting for is the statement in the logs that Pega has joined the cluster. Should be just about ready. There you go. So here's where it's telling you that it is now in the cluster essentially. And we should be able to just go ahead and now once we've logged in, there are two things we want to check. Well, first thing we need to check is the decisioning infrastructure. To ensure that Pega is aware of the external Kafka and that it's not in any way complaining about it, saying that it's working normally. The other thing we need to do is go to the admin studio and go to the queue processing and check that everything's okay there. Now at the moment, it says that nothing is running. Now if it says it's not running, what we want to do is refresh this. Now everything's running. Excellent. Then we can go back to the Dev Studio, and we can also check the search settings. You can see that it is being processed. These numbers should slowly change. Great. You'll notice that this has gone up. The number of documents processed is also changing. And that's it. We can log out.